In this two-part lecture, we're going to explore a variety of technology-based training methods. In this first part, we'll cover the advantages and disadvantages of e-learning, distance learning, mobile learning, and blended learning. E-learning is something you are all familiar with. Technically, e-learning is the delivery of instruction online using the internet. Some people refer to it as web-based training, computer-based training, or online learning. Trainees can access content during live instruction in the classroom, or they may complete a portion of or an entire course online. When programs are entirely online, learners have a great deal of control over what they learn, when they learn it, and the pace at which they learn it. While online instructors do provide feedback, there is usually very little interaction between learners. This method is most effective when it prompts learners to practice newly learned capabilities, either at work or in some other live situation, and then report back to the class, to the instructor about that experience. E-learning also tends to be more effective when trainees have plenty of opportunities to interact with the material, the trainers, and other learners. And when the text is combined with audiovisual techniques, links to other resources, and a visually appealing format. One of the obvious advantages of e-learning is that it allows us to train employees who do not work in the same location. It's also useful for teaching not only employees, but also customers, vendors, and other stakeholders. One of the reasons that e-learning works so well is that it gives learners more control over the learning process. Content can be accessed at any time and from any computer. One of the other benefits is that it standardizes the delivery of instruction, which can make it cheaper and faster to deliver to a large number of people. However, the development of online learning can be expensive and time-consuming. Your textbook estimates that it takes approximately 38 hours to design a single hour of instruction. Fortunately, this extra cost can be offset by a reduction in administration costs over a long period of time. Another disadvantage is that it requires trainees to have basic computer knowledge and may not be effective for people with low self-efficacy or low motivation. E-learning also lacks practice opportunities, which we know can be a major drawback to any training method or program. E-learning is one of the methods used by distance learning, which is popular with companies whose trainers and trainees are physically separated. But distance learning can be synchronous, and instruction can be delivered in real time. Using teleconferencing and web conferencing tools like Zoom and Skype for Business, trainees can ask and answer questions, respond to polls and quiz questions, and share files, all in real time. Instruction can also be asynchronous, where trainees can access the content at their convenience through physical materials, e-learning, virtual classrooms, and webcasts. A virtual classroom is a more interactive version of e-learning. Think virtual reality meets Canvas. Some distance learning programs require trainees to use their own space and their own computer. Other companies provide a designated space on site for employees to access training that is delivered in real time by an instructor in a different location. Like e-learning, distance learning allows us to train employees who are geographically dispersed. It also tends to be more affordable than live face-to-face instruction. It wouldn't be practical for some companies to bring together thousands of employees in one location. The airline tickets, lodging costs, and meals can add up quickly. This method is also more customizable than live instruction. Trainees can be divided into groups, and asynchronous instruction can give trainees some control over when they learn. which can be extremely beneficial to busy professionals like yourselves. The main disadvantage of distance learning is that some trainees feel isolated from their peers and trainers and disappointed by the lack of interaction. This is especially true of asynchronous instruction. Like e-learning, trainees need to be highly motivated to participate in the distance learning process, even though their trainer may not be sitting right in front of them. Mobile learning refers to training that provides trainees with anytime and anywhere access to their instructional resources or to the entire training program. This method is different from e-learning because trainees can use a wider variety of devices to access training, such as computers, smartphones, tablets, or wearables like Google Glasses. Mobile learning can involve both formal and informal learning. Formal learning occurs through e-learning courses, podcasts, videos. Informal learning occurs through communication with other people via email, social media, the company's intranet, or some other online medium. Some companies even have entire apps designed just for mobile learning. Like the previous two methods, mobile learning is useful for trainees who are at various physical locations. They can access training while traveling or talking with a customer. It also provides a great deal of control for them, as they can access it at any time using technology of their choice, and they can learn at their own pace. This method can supplement classroom instruction by providing additional resources online. It can also facilitate transfer by reinforcing content and prompting self-management. Some mobile learning technology allows trainees to create content and share it with others, much like Canvas allows us to capture videos and share them with the class through discussions. Unfortunately, some content is not easily displayed on a small screen. Mobile learning can also be intimidating to some people, especially those who are not confident in their ability to use it or learn from it. Because trainees can be anywhere, this method is especially susceptible to interruptions and distractions, which can be frustrating and counterproductive to learning. The final technology-based method we will cover in part 1 of this lecture is blended learning, which is a blend or combination of classroom instruction and technology-based learning, usually e-learning. These courses are sometimes called hybrid courses. The idea is to balance the advantages and disadvantages of both methods. Flipped classrooms use e-learning to deliver lecture content and the physical classroom to facilitate activities and assessments. I've used this approach in other courses with great success. I pre-record all the lectures and require students to read the textbook and watch the lectures before class. Then, when we meet in person on campus, we can devote the little time that we have to completing group activities, self-assessments, and application-based assignments. Every class period ends with an after-action review where we discuss and document what we learned. One of the major advantages of blended learning is that it gives trainees more control over the learning process than classroom instruction. They can complete the e-learning portion at their convenience, within reasonable deadlines, of course. Blended learning makes up for the lack of interaction in online programs with its classroom interactions, where trainees can engage with the material and other learners and receive live feedback from the trainer. Unfortunately, people tend to prefer classroom instruction or strictly e-learning over blended learning. Why? Because hybrid courses tend to require more time and engagement on the trainee's behalf. They are a lot of work. In order for these more complex programs to be effective, we must carefully design each component and coordinate the two. We want the two methods to be structured, organized, and aligned. We do not want to frustrate, confuse, or overwhelm trainees. In part 2 of this lecture, we will continue learning about training methods that rely on technology.